How are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Sean Atwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson. I'm here with the one and only John Wedger himself, and we're here for Crime Theory. We've got a slightly shorter show today. John's got some schedules that he needs to stick to this evening, so it's a slightly shorter show, sadly. Now, I have been recording some content the last few days, and it's going to upset a lot of people because the world is just as... John, once we get 10 minutes into this, we can maybe talk about it a little bit. But the community's doing their job and sending me over problematic social media accounts and individuals that seem to promote a lifestyle or promote a lifestyle that is obviously not one that aligns with a regular person's thinking process. So, how are you, John? How's your week been? What's been going on with you?
Yeah, good. I'm sort of back really into the swing of working and been writing, a lot of writing. So that's been good. That's been very cathartic.
Yeah, let's get the book done, John. How are we getting on?
Yeah, that is really coming on, and what is amazing is, the comparison between my memories of how not just the job of policing, but the whole culture that was policing throughout that crazy sort of early 90s time and how it is now, the rawness of it. But I just look back with total fondness, and it's been making me laugh. But there's no way it would tie in with the rules and regulations now, especially with diversity laws and all that. No way. Two different worlds.
Yeah.
Two different worlds. So and I've had a few ex police be in touch with me who've recently retired and just saying what an absolute load of shite it is. It's total crap, and how they're happy to be out. So which is weird, because when I was young the guys coming up for retirement, actually a lot of them didn't want to retire. They loved it. They just said, I'd do another 30 years. I didn't feel that way, but they did, and that was quite common. And it was a job where you joined and you stayed to the end, unless you got arrested or kicked out or killed or something. You never had a career change, because it was just so good. It was just a laugh. But now, I don't know what have they done to us. This government is it's awful what they've done. So bad what they've done, but it's all, we're saturated by it, aren't we? So what can we do?
It seems to be getting worse by the day, John, if I'm being honest with you. It seems to be every single day. Did you see the 14-year-old dual-wielding Dundee girl?
Yeah, the girl from Dundee, protecting her sister, yeah, that was quite something, wasn't it?
I mean, that's just Scotland in a nutshell. That whole story is just Scotland in a nutshell. For those of you who don't know, 14-year-old girl in Dundee, or was it Dundee? I can't remember.
It was Dundee, yeah.
Yeah, 14-year-old and 12-year-old were basically being harassed by a French tourist, if you know what that means. And legitimately, this young girl pulls out like what looks like a machete and a hatchet and just chases this guy off. And it's just the most Scottish thing I have seen in a long time. Oh wow, Queenie's opening a restaurant. Oh my god, I'll get that up on the screen. In the streets. Oh, big shout out to Queenie. Queenie's one of our community members, John. Wonderful.
Okay.
Right. And she's going to be cooking up some deliciousness. I'll need to get in touch with Queenie. We'll need to make a big deal out of that this weekend for her. But yes, we've got the Joel Whedon 14-year-old John. We've got the mayor of London. Did you see the mayor of London can be interviewed by that woman about the GG gangs, and him basically say that he does not know what she means by
no, he just lies. I know, it's disgraceful. It's
unreal.
It's just a battle of semantics, isn't it? She's trying to keep it plain and simple when he's lying, and he's just lying. What's he still doing in his job?
What are all of them still doing in their jobs?
How he's ruined London. He's pushed so many people out of London. So many people can't work in London anymore. It's made it too expensive, and it's just trashed it. And he's still there, and his views, they conflict with Christian values. It's what a horrible man. It's just thing. It was a reminder the other day that during the Euro games, that the black cab drivers weren't allowed to fly the St George's Cross in their taxis.
Well, it's the first I've heard that the British, the Union Jack, is apparently and the what's your flag called? What's the English flag called?
St George's Cross.
St. George's. I was born on St George's Day. I should know that. Like, man, there is some people have been bottling some feelings up, John. I feel like people have been bottling up some feelings, and they're all coming out now. And
well, if you gauge it on London is so mixed and diverse now. You're not going to get that patriotism only in strong enclaves. But you go out, you've still got predominantly sort of that old British culture, and
why are we being convinced that because there's diversity, that's got anything to do with displaying a country's flag? What's diversity got to do with the country that
the English have always had a raw deal, because especially the Irish can openly flaunt their patriotism to their national saint. The Welsh do it.
I think once it gets to a point, John, where a country can no longer display its own flag in its own country, like the treason points are just stacking up and stacking.
Yeah, well, this is what it is. It is treason, isn't it? It's
John, you tell me if a government makes its own citizens second rate to another country's citizens, treason. That's treason, mate. There's no other way of putting it. We've been abandoned.
There's an agenda behind this, and if anyone can't see how loaded this is, and it starts really with the kids, that they've been doing it in the schools, and the teachers have allowed it to go on.
We're like the Palestinian women and kids. Like, where are they? Because we'll take planes of them. You could send over truckloads of like women and children who need us. No problem. That's not an issue. Not an issue, mate. But
it never has done. And even when it came to the work that I was in, when it comes to loitering offences, prostitution, the children, if they were caught, they weren't criminalised because they were seen as victims. And it's the same when you get unaccompanied minors, especially within the West African community. A lot of kids got trafficked in, usually via Ethiopia. They come from West Africa via Ethiopia or Dubai, and they'd be brought in with what they call an uncle. It would just be an agent. And unaccompanied minors, but the kids were never dealt with as suspects at all. They were seen as victims. It's always been the case. I know that Nigel Farage come out with that statement saying that they'll turn women and kids away. Well, yeah, and that's not really how our benevolent justice system works. It's not the kids' fault,
Somebody had mentioned in the side chat earlier, John, about UKIP mentioning Jesus too much. Now, you know how I'm not part of the Jesus crew, okay? But I am fully okay with UKIP can go full Jesus for all I care, because that's the country that I'm part of. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay with it. Christmas, Easter, no problem. But I think too much is getting stripped away now. Too much is being stripped away, and the government is the one who seems to be facilitating so much of it.
Yeah, and I think that they're deliberately allowing this polarization.
Of course they are.
On one side, you've got the young lads, a lot of the black lads, a lot of the North African, the Muslim guys, and they tell me that their enemy in society are the Jews and homosexuals, and that they put it in a more vernacular way than that.
Okay.
And then on the other side of it, you've got this alt-right, which seems to be pro-Israel. So this division has already cropped up massively. And really what we're not doing is centering our forces on the fact that we have a treasonous government. These other sort of arguments, they should be side issues. In fact, we have got a treasonous government, which is an anti-Christian government.
Yeah.
It's atheistic.
It's anti-British people government. Right? The religion thing is secondary, John. The religious thing is secondary, but you're totally right.
Look at the new rule they've got. The new fiscal rules come in that if you withdraw more than £200 within a 7-day period, you flag up.
Sorry, say that again.
Right, there's new fiscal rulings come up that if you withdraw more than £200 cash in a 7-day period, that you become a person of interest, and there's some economic crime unit will be looking into you. £200 cash.
That is great. That is awesome. That is awesome.
No, you'll be seen as a criminal if you're doing it, if you're withdrawing £200 in cash.
But why? I'm not doing anything suspicious with that cash.
Yeah, but this is what's happening. I mean, the Proceeds of Crime Act, when it first came in, that if someone had £5,000 on them, believed involved in criminality, could not prove the whereabouts of that money, it could be seized.
Yeah.
Within a very, very short period of time, that went down to 2,000. Then it went down to 1,000. Then it goes lower and lower and lower and lower, and that kept happening and happening.
God damn it!
So it's their way of criminalising cash.
Now we need to find a loophole. Right, we need to figure out what you could possibly be doing with cash that doesn't involve anything criminal, John.
Well, that's okay, but then prove it, and you can't.
There's only so much money you can give to the window cleaner, right? Every week. Do you know what I'm saying? But man,
some cultures are very cash orientated, you know, especially the Cypriot, the Middle Eastern. It's a thing to have a wad of cash, and the traveling community. It's all cash. It's all cash. It's all bangers and mash. So you can see what they're slowly doing. The thing is, tapping out, you know, with a card is so convenient. You know, that's where they get it. It is so convenient, and it's deceptive as well, because if you're tapping this, tapping that, you're not keeping an eye on what you're doing. With cash, you do keep, you know, a tangible record of what you've done, because you can see it slowly going downhill. But we're just being, but absolutely decimated bit by bit by bit. But there's an interesting story. I mentioned it. I think it was a year ago, but it's now in the coroner's court. And I mentioned this guy, and I said, this is a person I think of interest, and especially when it comes to sort of criminal shows, you know, investigations and chats that we do on here. There's a case of a former detective inspector called Warren Arter from the Metropolitan Police, who was found dead in a police cell whilst on remand for an investigation. I think he was charged with offences relating to Class A drugs, especially the white powdery stuff. And he was also involved in orgies, it was mentioned in the paper. Now, I worked with this guy for many, many years. I did know him. But he'd done a runner from Barbados, where his wife was found unalived in a hotel room with traces of the white powder in her bloodstream, but nothing suspicious there. He had a history of domestic violence against this woman. And this guy, he was on full pay under investigation for 7 years. 7 years, right?
7 years.
Bear in mind that, you know, again, comparisons of what they did to me and how they treated me. I think I was under suspension for about 2 months because they said it cost too much money to keep me any further. And also, when someone is under suspension, you know, they do remain on full pay, and they sort of shelve the investigations for a while. So some people have remained on full pay under suspension, and when you're suspended, your warrant card is removed and you're not allowed in police buildings. So it's all so odd. But this guy, there's something very, very sinister about him, and I think there's more to come out. So I'd say watch this space with this guy, Warren Arter, Arter. Google that name. I may have some information that I may be able to share. I'm not sure, but I've got to talk to a source about it.
Who did you say the woman? Who did you say the woman was that was found?
His wife.
Okay, damn. And
the Barbadian police said there's nothing suspicious. Well, it's a bit odd, isn't it? You know, she's dead. He does a runner. He's already under suspicion for quite serious offences, but gets charged with cocaine, the white powdery stuff. And anyway, look into it. because it's dark and it's sinister. And
Yeah. What did you say his name was again, John?
Warren Arter, Arter, and I'd advise your listeners and your viewers to pay interest with it. And you heard it here first. It's one of them things that the police have tried to slip quietly and discreetly under the net.
He's dead now, right?
Yeah, he's gone. He was found dead last year, I think, in his cell whilst on remand. He was charged and remanded. But there's more to this guy. And if you think maybe, I don't know, we've seen it before with two coppers that came to notice, Wayne Cousins and the other one. We did a chat about him, I think, a year ago. I can't remember the other name. Carrick, is it? Something Carrick? David Carrick, that's it. We might be looking at a similar vibe with this guy. We might not. But I think this fella's quite connected because of how he was left, on full pay for 7 years, and he was middle management, and it was a bit different to the other two uniform plod. This guy's, there's more to, well, all I'm saying is there's more to him. Watch this space. It will be an interesting chat on this guy.
You see what comes out.
But there's no other ex-coppers going on about it or anything. I am, and I'm saying there could be a lot more to this fella, a lot more to it. So, armchair detectives,
get on it.
Send your thoughts in on a post.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So what else, John, has been going on over the last week that's popped up with you? Anything else that's sort of been rustling your jimmies, so to say? Anything?
Well, I mean, the one thing that is interesting, and it's getting more and more intense, was, again, I don't like talking about I was this, I was that, because whatever. But when it comes to speaking out about SRA, satanic ritual abuse, not many people have done it. You get attacked for it, you get vilified, you get discredited, blah blah blah, and also the victims themselves can be a bit nightmarish at times because of the condition of multiple personality and things like that. Truth and reality can blend in, and I'm not saying they're liars or anything like that, but it's a difficult topic to look at, to investigate, to talk about, and to make public. But it is getting more and more in the news as time goes on. It's incredibly prolific at the moment. You're seeing it all over the place. I mean, it's cropping up in America a lot, and the inferences with a lot of these organised crimes and some sort of ritualistic element to it is phenomenal. So I've been contacted by two people in the last week who claim to be survivors of this, which is quite high, really, and so we'll wait and see. I'm always very mindful of when I deal with that, and I keep the people very much at arm's length until I can verify what they're saying. But that is the one thing that is reoccurring, and this week it's been quite intensive. You're always going to get a lot more abuse stuff come out this time of year because it's back to work, it's back to school, it's back to everything, especially when it comes to the child stuff. This is when you start getting loads of it, because it used to be last day of the holidays, and usually last day of term, and last day of the holidays, because the kids were going, they knew that they were then going to have to spend time with an abusive parent or a relative, and they'd tend to tell a teacher on the last day of term. And of course, this is back to school, so that, when kids are coming back, and some are worse for wear.
Yeah, you say is that the teacher's noticing that there's obviously something wrong. Okay, here's a question for you, John. What do you know about new technology being used at last weekend's Nottingham Carnival? Unseen X-ray tech and facial recognition stuff. You know anything about that, John?
Yeah, I mean, facial recognition's been about a long time. There's nothing new in that. I mean, they're just rolling it out more, aren't they? It's how this works. You see, it's the police don't tend to talk about their mythology a lot. So prior to the carnival, they'll have a team. They'll have the TSG, the Territorial Support Groups, which is like the riot squad, the heavy mob, and they'll have certain detectives that will be sent to work with them. So on the lead up, a month before the carnival, they'll go around smashing doors down of all known troublemakers and drug dealers. And then they'll go around, kick their doors in, get them arrested, and they will be kept on bail with strict conditions, or they'll get them charged, and there'll be conditions from the court not to attend the carnival. And if they are, they're instantly arrestable. So you see a lot of that going on. That goes on all the time, and especially public events, if there's anti-royalists, things like that. On the lead up to a public event or something like Notting Hill Carnival, big public order thing, doors will be getting kicked in, and this is just how it works. That's part of it, and these recognition, comes into its own on that front. But they're using it more and more, aren't they? They're using it on the trains and stuff like that now. For fare evasion and all sorts. So I mean, the other night I was, because I'm always in central London, and I was at one of the busy stations. I think it might have been Piccadilly Circus, one of the busy ones there. And I pay, tap in, tap out, and there was 2 police officers there, and they're British Transport ones, and there was the security staff, and I just watched people just pushing in and ghosting through the gates one after the other, and the security staff doing nothing. And one guy went through with a can of beer, and they pulled him over, and I stepped in. I said, "This is absolutely outrageous." I said, "You're picking on him, right? But he's paying. He's keeping this whole system." And I said to the security guard, "I've watched you stand by while 8 people have just barged through, and you've done nothing." And he said, "What's it got to do with you?" And I said, "Because you're a coward." I said, "You're a coward. Your security, you're paid to deal with it. You're a coward." And then he's called the police over. I said, "Well, call them over." And they came over, and I said, "Look, for what it's worth, I'm a retired copper. And this guy stands by and watches people just push through. This is an insult to anyone who's law abiding. And, people get results and they bunk trains and all that. Young kids do it. But it's now people just don't bother because there is no deterrent. And then the bill comes down to the decent people. And it's all about, we're here to protect the decent people." And I said to the 2 officers, I said, "Well, if he can't be bothered to do it, I'll do it." I said, "So the next guy that comes through and don't pay, I'm going to jump him." And a guy come through and he paid, and I grabbed him, and the officers, they stepped in and said, "No, we'll deal with this." But it took that to do it, and this guy got all cocky, and I went, "You're a coward, mate. You are a coward. You are paid to step in and deal with this." Now, I got sent some footage from a Sainsbury's, which is in the same area where I live, and it was a neighbour of my friend, and he's in Sainsbury's in one of the bigger shops, and a crackhead, smackhead, has decided just to jump over the tobacco counter and help himself, right? And my mate decides to film it. Well, I'm filming this anyway. A woman member of staff, quite a large woman, she says, "We shouldn't be in there," and he tells her to F off, and she engages in a shouting match, saying, No, you can't be doing it." There were 3 members of security staff stood and watched and did nothing. And they allowed.
Why is that, John? Right? I mean, surely that's their job. Have they been told not to step in?
No, they're cowards. They were cowards. They were all Asian men, right? Middle-aged Asian men, right? I don't know whether they were related or whatever it was, from the same age. I have no idea, right? I know they're not paid a lot of money, but their job is to deal with that, right? Deal with it. And it's wrong. It's so wrong. Now, in Sainsbury's now, in order to leave the shop, you need to tap your receipt on a scanner, and it allows the gates out, right? So they will give you a hard time, or they will have a go at someone, or even ban them if they take a carrier bag and don't pay for it.
Yeah.
And they do. I've seen them do it, or moan at someone for not scanning out, right? And they'll get the security down to deal with that. Some poor woman who's just nicked a carrier bag. But someone blatantly going in there and robbing, thieving, choring, and just taking what they want of high value stock, and they do nothing. And not only that, my mate said, "What would you have done?" I said, "Well, it's not what I've done; it's what I have done in the past. I have jumped on people." I said, "Why didn't someone smash him around the head with a shopping basket, or when he went to leave, ram him with a trolley if they didn't want to put hands on? All do it and give him a beating." And I've said this many times.
Can't do that now, John.
No, but the police need to start coming down and giving people beatings. I mean, it's going to be quite contentious. I don't care. Start smashing people how they used to. If you steal a car, the police chase you. Expect to be battered. If you burn a house,
God, the 90s, John, eh? The 90s, what a freaking time.
Expect the police dogs to bite a lump out your ass and then get beaten.
That's what
you should be expecting.
You gotta love them. Okay, look, here's some examples. There's some examples of what John's talking about. So we've got a shop in this country called Greg's, right? And Greg's has become a bit of a meme, right? Because, well, have a look.
Why are so many people robbing Greg's, and why is it so easy to get away with it? Lately, you might have seen these videos where thieves are blatantly robbing Greg's and just getting away with it without having any trouble. Here's some of the wild Greg's robbery videos that have come out.
You ain't want no chips? You want any chips?
You got any chips? What?
This guy was literally robbing the Greg's and still asked the staff for chips. Greg's gets targeted a lot because the stores are tiny and the staff are behind the counter, so it's easy to grab what you want and just get out. This old cracker has cleared out the shelves and packed out his laundry bags.
You thieving twats!
Yeah, now I can't get in Greg's because they call people stealing.
That is a junkie's leg right there. See that? See that there, John?
Yeah, right, well, it's a bit small, but I know. I know what.
Junkie's leg right there. So this is basically what John's been. This is what we're talking about. This is crazy. Now, like Greg's sells sausage rolls, mate. Right? It sells sausage rolls. You know, the overheads of like putting security staff in there ain't the one. And yeah, I mean, Greg's is changing now.
But even security staff, well, yeah. they do nothing. Right, look, let's go back to the 90s because that's
Greg's never had any security. Greg's have never had security till now, John. But
what's the resale value of that? I mean, I can understand them nicking razors, nicking steak. It's got a resale value. What is the resale value on some Greg's chips? I mean, it's got a zero. Right,
do you know what, John? Do you know what I think we should be asking? Where is all this being resold? I've never seen a guy on the streets, right, doing like half-price Greg sausage rolls or, 6 freaking Southern fried chicken bites on the black market.
Right, so let's look at what they used to have. They used to have town centre patrols. That uniformed officers, they were dedicated to patrolling a town centre and pedestrian areas, and they worked with the local shops. They had a comms network. They worked purely on intelligence, and when known shoplifters came in, they done them, right? They just done them, and that was that. And in some areas, they were that effective, they almost made them crime-free, and therefore it's a safer place to shop, right? And that's that. They've got rid of it all. You know, what do they expect is going to happen when you remove that uniform, permanent police presence from it? You know, and the deterrent, the fear of getting a belting. Look, when you go back to school, if you had a teacher that would belt you if you were mucking around, on the whole, you'd have a very quiet class. If you had a teacher that did nothing, you had a rowdy class. Yeah. So it's common, but it's gone. It's the public gets what the public wants, you know. If a teacher hits a kid now, the mum goes up screaming to the school and calls the police and all that. So we're gone, mate. We're gone. We're finished. We're finished. I'm not advocating leathering kids and all that. It's called reasonable chastisement, and there has to be a deterrent, and it has to be a severe one. It has to. Otherwise, you've got chaos. You've got madness.
Do you know what I'm thinking we do, John? Right? Is we just get tiny little prisons to put the fingertips in of the kids, and then they can't use their devices. They can see their devices, right? But the tiny little finger prisons won't let them use it. I know what you're thinking. They'll use the tip of their nose way ahead of you, John. Welder's mask. Sorted. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But it's true what you're saying, John. There is no...
There's no deterrent, nothing.
There's no deterrent at all. And you know what? It's funny. I was doom scrolling the other day, and some guy was talking about how the worst thing